Welcome to Audiobook's Horizon, where timeless wisdom and powerful stories come alive through voice. Today, you'll experience a journey beyond words, a book that has inspired minds, changed lives, and continues to open new horizons of thought. Find a quiet moment, relax, and let the story guide you. This is more than just listening. It's an opportunity to learn, reflect, and grow. Now, let's begin. Take a breath. Yes, before we begin, pause with me. Let the world around you soften just for a moment. You've chosen to press play on this audiobook, and that decision alone already speaks volumes about who you are. You are someone who wants more, who feels there is something greater within you waiting to be unlocked. Maybe you've tried before. Maybe you've stumbled. Maybe you've lost momentum. Maybe you've even felt like you failed. But here you are again, listening, searching, ready to try. And that willingness, that spark, is where transformation begins. Your life will only change the day you decide to stay consistent. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Not when circumstances magically align. The shift begins the very moment you choose consistency as your companion. That is the truth most people ignore, and it is why so many dreams remain half-lived, why so many ambitions die quietly in the corners of people's hearts. We often find it easier to blame our past, our environment, our bad luck, the limits we think we've inherited. But the deeper truth is simpler, more uncomfortable, yet liberating. We don't stay with anything long enough to witness what's possible. Think back for a second. How many times have you started something new with a rush of excitement, only to feel that energy fade after a week, maybe two? How many journals have been left unfinished, gym memberships left unused, languages half-learned, business ideas abandoned at the first roadblock? If you're honest with yourself, you know it's not because you were incapable, or too weak, or too unworthy. It was because consistency, showing up every single day, especially when it was boring, difficult, or thankless, was missing. Consistency is the real superpower. It doesn't care if you're the smartest in the room, the strongest in your group, or the most naturally gifted. Talent can give you a head start, but consistency is what carries you to the finish line. When you show up daily, when you keep placing one stone after another, eventually you build a foundation that can hold up anything. Every excuse, every barrier, every so-called limit begins to crumble under the weight of steady, repeated effort. Limits don't vanish by accident. They are not erased because the universe decided to be kind. They are broken deliberately, by you, through repeated, disciplined action. Day after day, week after week, brick by brick. And the most extraordinary part? The moment you truly understand this, when you let the reality sink into your bones that there is nothing in your life that cannot be shifted if you stay consistent, you feel a door unlocking. You begin to sense that perhaps the limits you've lived with were never walls at all, only curtains waiting to be pulled aside. So I invite you, stay with me, stay fully present, because the journey we're about to walk together can shift everything for you. This audiobook isn't just words, it's a companion for your transformation. Let's start with your mind, because all limits live there first. Chapter 1 is simple in title but profound in practice. Break mental barriers daily and watch as new possibilities unfold. Every person, yes, including you, carries limits inside their own mind. These limits are invisible most of the time. You don't wake up and say, here's my limit, let me polish it like a stone. No, they're quieter than that. They whisper. They weave themselves into your thoughts, into your decisions, into the way you carry yourself. They show up in hesitation, in self-doubt, in the way you shrink back instead of stepping forward. Where do they come from? They are born from your past experiences, from every failure that still echoes in your memory, from the careless opinions of people who never saw your full potential, from the fears you've carried like heavy luggage for years. And over time, these whispers solidify into barriers. They murmur, "Don't bother, you can't." They hiss, "Why try? You'll only fail." They trick you into believing that the small box you've lived inside is all there is. But here's the liberating truth. Those barriers are not carved in stone. They are not permanent structures. They are like thin glass walls, and though they may seem strong, they shatter when pressed against daily. Not once, not twice, but through consistent effort, repeated over and over again. Picture this. Every day you place your hands on the barrier, pushing gently but persistently. The first day, nothing moves. The second day, the glass trembles. The 10th day, a crack appears. And eventually, with enough steady pressure, the wall collapses, and suddenly, on the other side, there is a horizon you had never seen before. That is what it means to break mental barriers daily. It's not dramatic, it's not glamorous. It's persistence, it's grit, it's quiet determination. The first barrier most people must face is the belief that change is impossible. This one is insidious, because it convinces you to give up before you even begin. You tell yourself, "I've always been this way, so I'll always stay this way." That thought is like a locked door, keeping you trapped in a smaller life. But each day you push against it, just a little, you begin to weaken its hold. Every new skill you learn, every small habit you build, every single instance where you choose action over despair, you create evidence. And your mind cannot deny evidence. When it sees proof that you can change, it begins to believe. And belief is fuel. Another barrier you'll meet is fear of failure. Fear has a way of whispering at the worst times. What if you try and fall flat? What if people laugh? What if your doubts turn out to be true? So you play it safe. But safety has a cost. It robs you of growth. Fear is like a shadow monster, huge when you run from it, small when you turn and face it. The first time you confront it, your heart races. The second time, it feels smaller. By the 10th time, it's powerless. That's the gift of consistency. You train yourself to shrink fear every day until it no longer rules your life. Then there's the relentless chorus of negative self-talk. Those inner voices that say, "I'm not enough. I don't have what it takes. I'll never succeed." If repeated long enough, these words feel like truth, but they are lies your mind has rehearsed. To break this barrier, you must answer back, not once, not occasionally, but every single day. When the voice says, "I can't," you whisper back, "I'll try." When it says, "I'm not ready," you reply, "I'm learning." Over time, these tiny corrections reshape your inner dialogue, transforming it from an enemy into an ally. Barriers also arise from your past failures. Each one sits heavy in your memory, like stones in a backpack you never set down. They convince you the future will mirror the past. But consistency gives you the power to rewrite your story. Every step you take in a new direction, every time you act despite remembering how you once fell, you prove to yourself that the past does not dictate the future. Slowly, the stones become lighter until they no longer weigh you down. And perhaps the most dangerous barrier of all? The comfort zone. Comfort feels like safety, but it is a velvet cage. Growth only happens when you leave it, when you push a little further each day into the unknown. Athletes build endurance this way. Leaders build courage this way. Creators build innovation this way. Small steps, daily, beyond what feels easy. Until one day, what once felt impossible is now second nature. But let's pause here. Imagine this with me. Imagine the first time you do something you once believed you couldn't. Maybe you stand in front of a crowd and speak clearly, your voice steady. Maybe you finish a project you once doubted yourself on. Maybe you run further than you've ever run, or improve your health after years of neglect. That moment of victory, it's like standing at the top of a hill and realizing you built the strength to climb it step by step. That feeling is proof that your limits are not real, proof that you are more powerful than you believed. And once you taste it, you'll hunger for more. This is why consistency matters so much. Because breaking a barrier once is not enough. The mind has a sneaky way of slipping back into old patterns if you stop. That's why the work is daily. Each morning you must recommit. Today, I will push against my limits again. Over time, those efforts become who you are. You no longer have to fight the barrier. It simply ceases to exist. So as you listen to this, let these words sink in. Your mind will always resist change at first. It prefers old routines, even unhealthy ones, because they feel safe. Discipline is your answer. Discipline is choosing growth over ease. At first, it feels heavy. But with repetition, it becomes lighter, smoother, almost automatic. What once felt like a battle becomes your natural rhythm. And the deeper magic is that pause here for a moment. Close your eyes if you can, or at least soften your gaze. I want you to think about a time when you hesitated. A time when you had an idea, a dream, or even just a simple opportunity, and yet, you didn't act. Maybe you told yourself, "I'll do it later." Maybe you decided, "I'm not ready." Maybe you even dressed it up with noble words, "I'm just being cautious." But beneath those layers, what was really happening? Fear. Fear is a master of disguise. It doesn't always come roaring at you with obvious terror. Often, it slips in quietly, disguised as logic, disguised as waiting for the right time, disguised as endless preparation. You tell yourself you're being practical, but deep down, you know the truth. Fear whispered, and you obeyed. Fear steals more dreams than failure ever will. Let that sink in. Most people aren't crushed because they tried and failed. No, they're crushed because they never tried at all. They stayed silent. They stayed hidden. They stayed small. And years later, regret whispers louder than fear ever did. If you want to create a life beyond limits, you must confront those hidden fears daily. Not once in a while. Not when you feel brave. Every single day. Because fear is clever. It doesn't attack in one form and then vanish. It evolves. It adapts. Each time you grow, new fears show up to test whether you will keep rising. The only way forward is to meet them, face them, and act boldly despite them. Why does fear grip us so tightly? The answer lies deep in our human wiring. Thousands of years ago, fear was our survival system. The rustle in the bushes, the shadow in the dark, fear told us to run before danger struck. But today, the shadows we face are rarely life or death. Speaking up in a meeting won't kill you. Asking for a promotion won't end your life. Starting a business, learning a new skill, sharing your art, none of these are fatal. Yet the brain reacts as though they are. It sends waves of adrenaline, a racing heart, shaky hands. And too often, we misinterpret those signals as proof we should stop. Here's the truth. Fear does not disappear on its own. Waiting for fear to vanish is like waiting for a storm to pass in a desert that never rains. You'll be waiting forever. Fear must be faced, exposed, and confronted until it loses its hold. So how do we begin? The first step is recognition. Most people don't even name their fears. They just feel resistance, avoidance, procrastination, and excuses. But if you pause and ask yourself honestly, what am I really afraid of here? The answer starts to emerge. Maybe you're afraid of being judged. Maybe you're afraid of being rejected. Maybe you're afraid of wasting time or money. Maybe you're afraid of proving your own doubts right. Naming your fear strips it of its shadowy power. You bring it into the light, and suddenly, it becomes something you can see, examine, and challenge. Once you name it, the next step is to act directly against it. That's right, action, not thought, is the antidote to fear. If you fear speaking up, make it a personal rule to share one thought in every group conversation. If you fear rejection, start asking for small things you'd normally stay silent about. If you fear failure, deliberately attempt something where mistakes are likely, so you can experience firsthand that failure doesn't destroy you, it teaches you. Each action, however small, is a lesson to your brain. I am safe. I am capable. Fear is not my master. The first time you do it, your body will scream. Your heart will pound, your palms will sweat, your mind will insist you retreat. But push through anyway. Because the second time, it will feel a little easier. The third time, even easier. And by the 10th time, the fear that once felt enormous will seem almost laughable. That's the magic of consistent confrontation. Fear shrinks when exposed to the light of repeated bold action. Think about your own life. How many times have you let fear masquerade as logic? How many times have you told yourself, it's not the right time? I'll wait until I'm more experienced. I don't want to risk it right now. On the surface, these sound reasonable. But look closer, these are fear's lies, dressed in polite clothing. The tragedy is that many people live entire lives wrapped in those lies. They postpone, they delay, they play it safe, until time runs out. and the perfect moment they were waiting for never arrives. Let's pause for a reflection. Picture yourself 10 years from now. Imagine you stayed the same. Imagine you kept letting fear decide for you. What dreams would be left undone? What talents would remain hidden? What opportunities would have slipped by? Sit with that image for a second. It's heavy, isn't it? That weight you feel? That's regret, knocking at the door of your future. But here's the good news, the opposite is also true. Picture yourself 10 years from now, choosing boldness daily, confronting fear, even in small ways, speaking up, acting when you want to hide, reaching when you want to retreat. Imagine the confidence you would build. Imagine the opportunities you would seize. Imagine the life that would unfold, not because fear disappeared, but because you refused to let it rule. This is the power of consistency. Facing fear once is not enough. You might win a battle today, but if you retreat tomorrow, fear regains its strength. Boldness must be a daily rhythm. Every day you stretch yourself, every day you act despite fear, you weaken its grip a little more. Fear feeds on avoidance. When you avoid it, it grows stronger. When you face it, it starves. Now, let's talk about scale. Bold action doesn't have to mean climbing mountains or standing on stage in front of thousands. Boldness is personal. For one person, it may mean starting a conversation with a stranger. For another, it may mean pressing publish on a piece of writing they've been too scared to share. For another still, it may mean asking for help, admitting vulnerability, telling the truth. Boldness isn't about comparison. It's about what feels uncomfortable for you. And every time you act despite that discomfort, you grow. Growth is not found in the absence of fear. Growth is born in the decision to act anyway. And here's something profound. Every time you confront fear, you are not just changing your circumstances, you are changing your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone timid, someone fragile, someone bound by fear. You begin to see yourself as someone courageous, someone capable, someone who acts. That identity shift changes everything. It deepens your confidence, sharpens your self-image, and expands the size of your life. Soon, what once terrified you becomes normal, and what once seemed impossible becomes achievable. Fear will still appear, but now you will welcome it as a signal, not a stop sign, but a signpost pointing to growth. Here, fear whispers, here is where you must step forward. Here is the edge of your comfort zone. Here is where your life expands. And so, daily confrontation of fear becomes not just an act of bravery, but a compass for growth. But let's be honest, this is hard. Some days you'll wake up tired. Some days you'll feel drained, discouraged, maybe even hopeless. And on those days, fear's whispers will feel louder. It will say, not today. You've done enough. Rest. Hide. And rest is good, but hiding is not. That's why you must build discipline, not just motivation. Motivation fades. Discipline remains. Discipline is the voice inside you that says, I don't feel like it, but I will do it anyway. Discipline is what gets you to act when fear feels overwhelming. And there is a gift hidden in this discipline: self-respect. Each time you act despite fear, you earn trust with yourself. You prove to yourself that when you say you'll do something, you follow through. That trust compounds, day after day, until you carry yourself differently.
You están taller.
You walk with certainty. You know you can rely on yourself, because you have tested and proven it. Now, imagine the ripple effect. Imagine what happens when you live boldly, not just for yourself, but as an example to others. When your family, your friends, your community see you confront fear, they feel inspired to do the same. Courage is contagious. By freeing yourself, you create space for others to free themselves. And yes, fear will keep returning. Each time you grow, new fears will show up. That is not a curse, it's a sign of progress. It means you're stepping into new territory, stretching beyond where you've been. Each new fear is evidence that you are alive, evolving, expanding. But remember this, the price of avoiding fear is regret, and regret is heavier than fear. Fear lasts for a moment. Your heart races, your palms sweat, your breath quickens. But regret lasts a lifetime. When you look, let's pause together for just a moment. Take a slow breath in, and let it out. Notice the space around you, notice the stillness. Because before we go deeper, I want you to realize something powerful. The world you see is not the world as it is the world as you believe it to be. Let me repeat that, slowly, with emphasis. You don't live in the raw reality of the world, you live in the reality filtered through your beliefs. And here's the question that might shift everything for you. What if many of those beliefs are lies? What if they are invisible chains, forged long ago, that you've been dragging through life without ever questioning them? This chapter is about those chains, limiting beliefs, and the daily practice of breaking them. A limiting belief is any thought that convinces you that you are less than you truly are. It's the whisper that says, I'm not smart enough. I don't deserve success. I'll never be like them. Over time, these thoughts become the lenses you look through. And like tinted glasses, they color everything you see. The tragedy is that most people never even realize they're wearing those glasses. They confuse belief with truth. They assume, this is just the way I am. But the truth is, who you are is not fixed. Who you are is shaped, daily, by the beliefs you feed and the actions you choose. So let's explore together how to destroy limiting beliefs, not in a single dramatic strike, but in the consistent daily practice of awareness, questioning, and rebuilding. Step 1. Recognition. The first step is awareness. You cannot break a chain you refuse to see. Most of us live with beliefs so deeply ingrained we mistake them for reality. We say things like, I've always been bad at this, or people like me never get ahead, or that kind of success isn't for someone from my background. These are not truths. They are stories picked up from childhood, from failures, from careless words spoken by others. Pause here. Think back. Can you remember the first time someone told you that you weren't good enough? Maybe it was a parent comparing you to a sibling. Maybe it was a teacher's harsh comment. Maybe it was the smirk of a classmate when you tried and stumbled. Those moments left marks. And unless challenged, those marks became beliefs. But awareness is the beginning of freedom. Every time you hear yourself repeating those old lines, catch them. Say to yourself, that's a belief, not a fact. Naming it is like shining a flashlight into a dark corner. Step 2. Question the belief. Once you see the belief, don't let it sit unchallenged. Interrogate it. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Who told me this? Do I have actual evidence it's true? Or have I just repeated it so many times that I started to believe it? Often, you'll find the belief was planted by someone else, someone whose voice you absorbed when you were too young to defend yourself. Maybe it was a parent who doubted you, a teacher who criticized you, a boss who underestimated you, a failure you weren't ready for. Those voices became your inner voice. But here's the liberating truth. Just because you once accepted them doesn't mean you have to carry them forever. When you ask these questions, you weaken the belief. You separate what is true from what is simply a thought that has been rehearsed too many times. Step 3. Replace with empowering beliefs. The human mind doesn't work well in a vacuum. If you try to destroy a belief but don't replace it with something new, the old one creeps back in. So you must choose consciously what to believe instead. If the old belief was, I always fail, replace it with, I am learning and improving daily. If the old belief was, I don't deserve good things, replace it with, I am worthy of growth, success, and love. These new beliefs aren't lies. They are choices. They are seeds. And when reinforced with consistent action, they grow stronger each day. Let's pause again here. Imagine planting a seed in your mind. At first, it's fragile. You water it daily, by repeating it, by acting on it, by noticing evidence that supports it. Slowly, the roots take hold. Eventually, it becomes a tree, strong enough to weather any storm. That's what rebuilding your mindset looks like. Step 4. Reinforce daily. A belief, at its core, is simply a thought repeated over time. Your limiting beliefs became strong because they were repeated endlessly. To replace them, you must be just as consistent. So, each day, affirm your new beliefs. Speak them aloud. Write them down. Remind yourself of them when old doubts appear. This is not just positive thinking. It is deliberate reprogramming of the filters through which you see the world. Think of it this way: every morning you brush your teeth to protect your smile. Every day, you must also brush your mind, removing the plaque of doubt, polishing it with empowering beliefs. Step 5. Gather evidence. Words are powerful, but action is what cements belief. If you believe you cannot speak in public, you must take small actions to prove otherwise. Speak in front of one person, then 2, then 5. Each attempt becomes evidence against the old belief. If you believe you are not disciplined, choose one habit, just one. Read for 10 minutes daily, or exercise each morning. Each time you follow through, you build a case in your own mind that says, "Look, I can." The more evidence you gather, the weaker the old belief becomes, and the stronger your new mindset grows. Step 6. Shape your environment. Your surroundings matter. If you spend your time around people who reinforce your limiting beliefs, those who constantly doubt, criticize, or belittle, you'll struggle to break free. But if you surround yourself with people who believe in growth, who encourage, who challenge, who see potential in you, your environment becomes fertile soil for new beliefs to grow. So ask yourself, who am I listening to daily? Every conversation you hear either reinforces limits or expands them. Choose your environment wisely. Step 7. Feed your mind with new stories. Another powerful way to destroy limiting beliefs is to fill your mind with proof that transformation is possible. Read biographies of people who started with nothing and built extraordinary lives. Listen to stories of those who failed repeatedly but rose again. Expose yourself to evidence that humans are endlessly capable of change. Because here's the truth: inspiration alone won't change you, but it plants possibility. And when possibility is combined with daily action, transformation becomes inevitable. Step 8. Accept the process. Limiting beliefs are stubborn. They won't vanish overnight. You may feel doubt. You may hear that old voice insisting nothing has changed. But consistency wears them down, the same way water shapes stone over time. Remember, limiting beliefs never fully disappear. If neglected, they can return. That's why this is a daily practice. Each day, you must choose to reinforce the new beliefs and act in ways that prove the old ones false. It's not about winning once, it's about winning repeatedly, until the old belief is no longer part of your identity. Step 9. Visualize the freedom. Imagine living without the weight of those old limits. Imagine waking up with energy instead of doubt. Imagine pursuing opportunities with confidence instead of hesitation. Imagine building relationships from a place of worthiness instead of fear. What does that life look like? What does it feel like? Take a moment right now to picture it in your mind. That vision is your reward for the daily destruction of limiting beliefs. Step 10. Practice daily reflection. Every morning, ask yourself, what belief do I need to challenge today? Every night, ask yourself, what action did I take today that proves my strength? These questions sharpen your awareness. They keep you from slipping back into the comfort of old limits. They remind you that growth is a choice, not a gift. Now, let's bring this closer to you. What are the limiting beliefs you carry? Is it the voice that says, "I'll never change"? Is it the thought, "I don't have enough talent"? Is it the whisper, "It's too late for me"? Whatever it is, I want you to do this. Name it. Say it out loud if you can. And then, immediately, replace it with a new belief. Say, "I am learning and growing daily." Say, "I have more potential than I've tapped into yet." Say, "It is never too late to change." And tomorrow, act in a way that proves it true. That's the cycle: awareness, questioning, replacement, action, reinforcement. Over time, you'll realize something remarkable. The limits in your mind are not walls at all. They are doors. Doors waiting for you to open them. And every day you choose to open one, your world gets bigger. Until one day, you look around and realize, there are no closed doors left. Your mind is stronger. Your vision is clearer. Your confidence is unshakable. That is the life built not on chance, but on the daily discipline of destroying limiting beliefs and rebuilding a mindset of strength. Let's pause here, just for a breath. Inhale slowly and exhale gently. Feel the weight of your body where you're sitting or standing. Notice this moment. Because now, we're stepping into a part of your journey that most people never fully face, the excuses that hold them back. Excuses, at first, they sound harmless. They sound reasonable, even comforting. I'm too tired today. I don't have the right resources yet. I'll start when the timing feels better. I tried before, and it didn't work. Do these sound familiar? Each one carries a tone of logic, almost like self-protection. But peel back the layers, and what you'll discover is this: excuses are fear wearing a mask. Excuses are comfort zones defending themselves. Excuses are the mind's clever way of keeping you small. Think about it. How many times have you promised yourself you would start? Start the fitness plan, start the project, start writing, start learning, only to stop before you even began, buried under a mountain of excuses. How many times have you convinced yourself that conditions weren't right, when deep down, the truth was you were avoiding the discomfort of growth? Excuses are seductive. They feel soft, like a warm blanket on a cold morning. They let you delay. They let you postpone. They let you avoid risk. But what they don't tell you is that each time you give in to an excuse, you reinforce the habit of retreat. You make it easier for the mind to repeat the same pattern tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. Slowly, without realizing it, your life becomes a collection of abandoned intentions, unfinished projects, and unrealized dreams. Now here's the truth: growth and excuses cannot live in the same house. You must choose one, daily. Either you grow, or you excuse. Either you step forward, or you step back. So let's go deeper. Let's uncover how excuses form, why they feel so convincing, and how you can break their grip, daily, so you choose growth over comfort. Why excuses feel so real. Excuses often originate in the primitive part of your brain, the part wired for survival. This part hates discomfort. It loves routine, safety, familiarity. So whenever you consider doing something new, bold, or challenging, it screams, danger. And instead of saying, I'm afraid, it disguises that fear as logic. It whispers, I'll start tomorrow. I need more preparation first. Other people can do it, but I'm not ready. What if I fail? Notice how clever these are. They don't sound like fear. They sound like reason. But reason that stops you from acting is not wisdom, it is sabotage. The cost of excuses. Excuses always feel small in the moment. Skipping one workout, postponing one phone call, delaying one conversation, it doesn't seem like much. But excuses are rarely isolated. They multiply. They grow roots. One skipped effort becomes a habit of avoidance. One missed opportunity becomes a pattern of hesitation. Over years, excuses accumulate like dust on a shelf until your life feels heavy with things left undone. And then comes the worst part: regret. Regret is the long shadow cast by excuses. Regret whispers, you could have, but you didn't. It reminds you not of the risks you took, but of the ones you avoided. Now, picture the opposite. Imagine living a life where excuses do not rule you. Where you hear them, yes, but you challenge them daily. Where you notice the voice that says, not today, and you reply, no, today is exactly the day. Imagine how much you could create, build, and experience if excuses had no power over you. That's what this chapter is about, the daily discipline of confronting excuses and choosing growth. Step 1. Awareness. The first step, as always, is awareness. Begin to notice your excuses. Don't judge yourself for them, just notice. Catch the phrases you use to delay action. Write them down. You may be surprised at how often they appear, and how familiar they sound. For example, I don't have time. I'm too tired. I'll wait until I feel motivated. I need more experience. Notice how most of these aren't facts, they are feelings dressed as facts. And feelings, though powerful, are not reliable guides for action. Step 2. Question the excuse. Once you've named an excuse, question it directly. Ask yourself, is this truly a fact, or just a feeling? If this excuse wasn't available, what would I do? What's the cost if I believe this excuse today? Let's take the classic excuse, I don't have time. Is it true you have no time at all? Or is it that you're prioritizing other things? When you question it, you realize time is about choice. You may not have hours, but you likely have minutes you could devote to growth. By questioning, you strip the excuse of its automatic power. Step 3. Flip the script. Every excuse has an empowering opposite. If the excuse says, I don't have time, flip it to, I'll find 10 minutes. If it says, I'm too tired, flip it to, action will give me energy. If it says, I'll start when I'm ready, flip it to, starting will make me ready. This is not just wordplay, it is mental reprogramming. It turns excuses into triggers for action. Each time the old script plays, you replace it with a new one until it becomes your automatic response. Step 4. Take micro-actions. Excuses thrive in the gap between intention and action. The longer you wait, the louder excuses grow. The way to silence them is to act immediately, even in the smallest way. Want to exercise but the excuse says, too tired? Do one push-up. Want to write but the excuse says, no inspiration. Write one sentence. Want to start the project but the excuse says, not ready? Take one small step, open the document, sketch the outline, make the call. Micro-actions are powerful because they break inertia. Once you begin, momentum builds, and the excuse loses strength. Step 5. Build identity over comfort. Excuses often protect your comfort zone. But remember, comfort is a velvet trap. It feels good now, but it keeps you small. Growth requires discomfort. And here's the shift. Instead of asking, what feels comfortable right now, ask, who do I want to become? When your identity is rooted in growth, excuses have less power. For example, if you see yourself as someone disciplined, the excuse I don't feel like it doesn't matter. You act anyway, because that's who you are. Identity trumps comfort. Build the identity of someone who chooses growth, daily. Step 6. Reward growth, not excuses. Every choice reinforces a pattern. When you give in to an excuse, you reward avoidance with temporary comfort. But when you act despite an excuse, reward yourself differently. Celebrate. Acknowledge the effort. Even a simple phrase like, I'm proud I did that, creates positive reinforcement. Over time, your brain begins to associate growth with satisfaction, not fear. Step 7. Anticipate excuses. Excuses are predictable. They show up in the same patterns: fatigue, procrastination, fear of failure, lack of time. So prepare for them. Write down the excuses you know you'll face, and plan your response. For example, excuse, I'm too busy. Response, 10 minutes is enough to begin. Excuse, I don't feel like it. Response, I don't wait for feelings, I act first. Excuse, it's too hard. Response, hard means I'm growing. When you anticipate excuses, you strip them of surprise. They no longer catch you off guard. Step 8. Create accountability. Excuses thrive in isolation. Alone, it's easy to justify them. But with accountability, someone who checks in on you, someone who expects progress, excuses shrink. Tell a friend, a mentor, or even write down your commitment publicly. The moment others know, the weight of accountability strengthens your resolve. Step 9. Replace excuses with standards. Raise your standards. Instead of allowing excuses to decide for you, set a baseline rule: I show up daily, no matter what. Think of athletes. They don't skip training because they're tired. They train because it's who they are. Their standard is higher than their excuses. When you live by standards instead of feelings, you free yourself from the sway of excuses. Step 10. Embrace discomfort. At the heart of every excuse lies discomfort. And the only way to defeat it is to make discomfort your ally. The more you practice stepping into it, the less power it has over you. Discomfort becomes familiar. And once familiar, it loses its sting. Take a moment with me. Inhale deeply, and as you exhale, let your shoulders soften. I want you to arrive here fully present, because what we're about to explore could change the way you live each day. Let's begin with a question. How often do you stay within the boundaries of what feels safe? Think about your daily routine, your habits, your choices. Do you find yourself repeating the same patterns, going to the same places, talking to the same people, doing the things you already know you can do well? That space, the familiar, the predictable, is your comfort zone. It feels warm. It feels secure. But here's the truth you must face. Your comfort zone is also a cage. Yes, it's invisible. Yes, it's padded with ease. But it is still a cage. And every time you obey it, you shrink your life to fit its walls. Growth does not live there. Growth lives just beyond it, on the other side of discomfort, uncertainty, and courage. And here's the lesson. Every day, you must expand your comfort zone. Not once in a while, not when you feel unusually brave, but daily. Because if you don't, your comfort zone doesn't just stay the same, it shrinks. Life becomes smaller, safer, and emptier. Comfort zones feel safe because they are familiar. You know the terrain. You know the outcomes. You can predict how things will go. But safety here is an illusion. The world outside your comfort zone keeps moving. Opportunities pass by. Skills go unlearned. Relationships remain unexplored. Dreams remain unpursued. You are safe, yes, but you are also stuck. And the cruel paradox is this: the longer you stay in your comfort zone, the weaker you become. Muscles atrophy when unused. So does courage. So does creativity. So does resilience. What you call safety may actually be slow decline. Think of one time in your life when you avoided discomfort. Maybe you didn't speak up when you had an idea. Maybe you avoided the risk of starting something new. Maybe you stayed in a situation, a job, a relationship, that felt safe but stagnant. How did it feel later? Relief at first, perhaps. But over time? Regret. Frustration. A nagging voice that whispered, "You could have done more." That is the true cost of staying small. It's not just missed opportunities, it's missed growth. And the longer you wait, the heavier that cost becomes. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of fear. It is the choice to step forward when every part of you wants to step back. And here's the magic: courage compounds. Every time you act courageously, your comfort zone expands. What once felt impossible becomes normal. What once terrified you becomes routine. Think about it. The first time you learned to ride a bicycle, your heart pounded. You wobbled. You fell. It felt terrifying. But today, you don't even think about it. You just ride. Why? Because your comfort zone expanded to include that skill. The same principle applies everywhere. Public speaking, new skills, social interactions, leadership, creativity. What feels scary today becomes second nature tomorrow, if you practice courage daily. Expanding your comfort zone doesn't require giant leaps. It requires small, deliberate steps, repeated consistently. Ask yourself, what makes me uncomfortable? Not paralyzingly terrified, but uncomfortable. That's the edge of your comfort zone. If speaking to strangers scares you, start by smiling at one. If exercise feels daunting, commit to 2 minutes a day. If sharing your work feels vulnerable, share with a friend first. Consistency matters more than intensity. A small stretch daily is better than a giant leap once in a while. Each time you expand, notice it. Celebrate it. Reinforce the identity of someone who chooses courage over ease. And as yesterday's discomfort becomes today's normal, push further. Growth never stops. The edge always moves forward. A young woman dreams of becoming a writer, but she's terrified to share her words. Her comfort zone is writing in secret, keeping her notebooks hidden. One day, she chooses courage. She shares a poem with a friend. Her heart races, but she survives. The friend encourages her. Next week, she shares on social media. Fearful, yes, But she does it. A year later, she's publishing her work online regularly. What once was terrifying is now her normal. Another man fears exercise. He believes the gym is for fit people, not him. His comfort zone is staying home. But he chooses courage. He walks around the block. Next day, he walks again. Weeks later, he joins a beginner's class. Months later, the gym feels natural. What once was terrifying is now his normal. Do you see the pattern? Courage expands capacity. Daily. Discomfort is not your enemy. It is your guide. When you feel discomfort, it means you've reached the edge of your current limits. That's exactly where you should step forward. Most people interpret discomfort as a stop sign. In reality, it's a green light. It says, here lies growth. Walk this way. So train yourself. When you feel discomfort, don't retreat, lean in. Smile at it. Thank it. Because it's proof you're expanding. Excuses and comfort zones are best friends. Excuses protect comfort. Comfort feeds excuses. Together, they keep you small. But when you challenge excuses, you naturally expand your comfort zone. And when you expand your comfort zone, excuses lose their power. It's a cycle of liberation. Expanding your comfort zone daily doesn't just change what you can do, it changes who you believe you are. You stop seeing yourself as timid. You stop believing you're someone who just doesn't do those things. Instead, you see yourself as courageous, adaptable, capable. And identity is powerful. Once you believe you are courageous, you act courageously. And each courageous action reinforces that identity. This cycle, belief to action to identity, is how transformation sticks. Ease is seductive. Ease says, stay here, it's comfortable. But ease keeps you stagnant. Courage, though uncomfortable, gives you freedom. Each act of courage unlocks new possibilities, new relationships, new growth. So the choice becomes simple, ease or courage. One keeps you safe but stuck. The other makes you uncomfortable but free. And here's the paradox, the more often you choose courage, the easier it becomes. Ease stops being attractive. Growth becomes your new comfort. Here are some ideas you can practice. Strike up a conversation with a stranger. Say yes to an opportunity you'd normally decline. Try a food you've never eaten. Speak up in a meeting. Share an honest opinion. Take a cold shower. Wake up earlier than usual. Start the project you've been postponing. Each of these stretches you just beyond your current zone. And each one adds to your confidence bank. Let's pause together again. Take a slow breath. Ask yourself, what is one area of my life where I've stayed comfortable for too long? Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's your relationships. Now ask, what small action could I take today that pushes me just beyond comfort? Hold that thought. That's your challenge for today. Expanding your comfort zone daily doesn't just change today, it reshapes your future. 10 years from now, you could be the person who always chose ease, safe, predictable, small. Or you could be the person who always chose courage, bold, expansive, alive. Which version do you want to meet? The comfort zone feels safe, but it steals your growth. Courage feels risky, but it gives you freedom. So choose courage. Daily. Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Because every act of courage expands your life. And with that, I'll leave you with this thought. When the voice of ease whispers, stay here, may you smile and step forward into the unknown, because that is where your true life begins. Take one more breath with me. Inhale courage, exhale ease. Now, let's continue together, into the next chapter. Take a deep breath with me. Inhale slowly, hold it for a moment, and now let it out gently. As you breathe, feel the air moving through you, reminding you that you are alive, here, present in this exact moment. And because you are alive, because you are here, you hold something incredible within you, the ability to create new possibilities for your life. Think about that word for a moment. Possibility. It's such a soft word, yet it carries so much power. Possibility means the future is not locked. Possibility means today is not simply a repeat of yesterday. Possibility means you can choose, you can act, you can move in a new direction. Yet so often, people live as if the future is already written in stone. They wake up, repeat the same patterns, follow the same routines, and call it life. But that isn't life, it's survival. Real life begins when you decide to open yourself to new horizons, when you dare to believe that there are paths you have not yet walked, opportunities you have not yet touched, versions of yourself you have not yet met. Most people underestimate the creative power they already possess. They think possibilities are handed to them by luck, by circumstances, by other people's decisions. But here is the truth: you are not just a passenger on this journey, you are the driver. Every small choice you make is shaping the road ahead. Each thought, each action, each decision is planting seeds of possibility. Some will bloom immediately, some will take years, but all of them carry the potential to change your horizon. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly surprised yourself? When was the last time you did something so new, so unexpected, that it shifted the way you saw your own life? Many of us can't remember, because we've become trapped inside routines. And routine is not evil. Routine provides stability. But routine without growth becomes a prison. If you never step outside it, you will never discover the possibilities waiting just beyond its walls. Creating new possibilities is not about chasing every shiny thing. It's about daring to step beyond the limits you've set for yourself. It's about saying, what else could be true for me? What else could I do? What else could I create, become, or experience? The horizon is not fixed. It expands as you move toward it. Every step forward reveals more sky, more land, more opportunity. But you must be willing to take the step. Think of your life like a canvas. If you only ever use one color, your painting will remain flat, limited, predictable. But each time you add a new stroke, a new shade, a new texture, the picture deepens. That's what possibilities are, new colors you can add daily. Maybe it's learning a skill you've always avoided because it seemed too hard. Maybe it's traveling to a place you've never been, even if it's just a new part of your own city. Maybe it's reaching out to someone you admire and starting a conversation. Each action, however small, widens the canvas of your life. But why do so many people avoid new possibilities? Because possibility requires change, and change feels uncertain. Our minds love certainty, even if that certainty is small and limiting. Uncertainty feels like risk. What if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? What if I look foolish? But here's the deeper question. What if you succeed? What if it does work out? What if trying something new opens doors you never imagined? Most people are more committed to avoiding disappointment than they are to discovering possibility. And so they shrink their lives until they fit inside the narrow box of certainty. I want you to imagine something. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a vast field. Behind you is the path you've always walked, the safe road, the familiar road. In front of you, stretching far and wide, is an open horizon. It's unknown. You can't see every detail from where you stand, but you can feel the pull, the invitation. That horizon is your future, and every step you take into it creates new trails where none existed before. That is what it means to create new possibilities. You're not waiting for someone else to hand you a map. You're writing your own. The question, then, becomes, how do you do this daily? How do you make possibility a practice instead of just an occasional burst of inspiration? The answer lies in small, consistent choices that push you to expand. Each day, ask yourself, what can I do today that opens a door I've never walked through before? It doesn't have to be dramatic. Even tiny shifts matter. Perhaps today, you choose to listen to a perspective you've never considered. Perhaps today, you start a project you've been afraid of. Perhaps today, you ask a question instead of staying silent. Each of these moments, though small, accumulates into a life that is wide, rich, and full of new horizons. Possibility thrives in curiosity. When you stop asking questions, you stop discovering. Children live in possibility because they ask endlessly, why? How? What if? But as adults, we silence those questions. We think we're supposed to have answers. But the wisest people are not those who cling to answers. They are those who stay curious, who continue to ask, who remain students of life. So if you want to create new possibilities, rekindle your curiosity. Ask yourself, what if I'm wrong about who I am? What if I'm capable of more than I thought? What if I tried and it worked? Possibility also thrives in openness. If you only accept experiences that match your current beliefs, you'll never grow. But if you allow yourself to explore, to test, to adapt, your horizon expands. Sometimes this means listening to people you don't agree with. Sometimes it means stepping into environments where you feel like a beginner. Sometimes it means saying yes before you feel ready. Openness is the soil in which new possibilities grow. Another truth about possibility: it often arrives disguised as challenge. The problem you're avoiding, the obstacle you're frustrated by, the failure you wish you hadn't experienced, these are often hidden invitations to new horizons. Because when old paths collapse, you are forced to look for new ones. And in those new paths, you discover abilities, strengths, and opportunities you would never have found otherwise. Think back on your own life. How many times did a setback push you into something better? How many times did difficulty lead to growth? This is why it's important to not only seek comfort but to embrace challenges. They are often the doorway to your next possibility. Now let's talk about imagination. Your imagination is the bridge between present and possibility. Everything you see in the world, every invention, every creation, every success, existed first in someone's imagination. If you can see it in your mind, you can begin to move toward it. But most people stop imagining after childhood. They trade dreams for routines, visions for obligations. And in doing so, they close the door on possibility. I want you to reopen that door. I want you to allow yourself to imagine again. Not just idle fantasies, but visions of what you could truly build, create, or experience. Imagination is the rehearsal space for possibility. And yet, imagination alone is not enough. You must act. Each time you take action toward a possibility, no matter how small, you turn it from dream to reality. Even a tiny step is significant. Because action proves to your mind that new horizons are not just fantasies, they are reachable. That proof builds momentum, and momentum fuels courage. So how do you make this a way of life? Start by asking yourself each morning, what new possibility will I create today? It could be as simple as learning one new word in a language. It could be as bold as applying for a position you feel underqualified for. It could be as personal as forgiving someone you've held resentment toward. Each act stretches your horizon a little further. Let's pause here for reflection. Take a breath and ask yourself, what possibility have I denied myself recently? What dream have I postponed because it felt too uncertain? What chance have I avoided because I didn't feel ready? Hold that thought. That is your horizon calling. That is your invitation to step forward. Now imagine your life 5 years from now if you started creating new possibilities daily. Imagine the skills you would acquire, the people you would meet, the places you would explore, the confidence you would build. Imagine how much larger your world would be. That vision is not far away. It is built, one day at a time, by choosing possibility over repetition. And here's a secret: the more you practice creating possibilities, the more natural it becomes. Your mind shifts from I can't to what if I could. You stop seeing walls and start seeing doors. You stop feeling trapped and start feeling free. Possibility becomes your default lens, and suddenly, life feels bigger, richer, and more exciting. Think of the people you admire most, those who seem to live extraordinary lives. What sets them apart is not that they were given more opportunities. It's that they created possibilities where others saw none. They chose to look beyond the horizon everyone else accepted. They dared to try, to risk, to imagine. You can do the same. Take a breath with me. Slowly in, and gently out. Notice how your body feels right now. Perhaps there's a little tension in your shoulders. Perhaps your jaw feels tight. Perhaps your mind is carrying a weight you haven't named yet. That weight, that tension, that pressure, it is not your enemy. It is an invitation. Pressure is often misunderstood. Most people think of pressure as a sign that something is wrong, as a force that crushes them, as something to avoid at all costs. But here is the truth I want you to carry with you. Pressure, when embraced and directed, is the very force that can shape you into someone stronger, sharper, more capable than you have ever been before. Think of the way diamonds are formed. They do not appear out of nowhere, shining and flawless. They begin as carbon, ordinary, unremarkable, like the graphite in a pencil. But when carbon is placed under immense pressure, sustained over time, it transforms into a diamond, one of the hardest, most valuable substances on Earth. That same principle applies to you. The pressures you face are not random punishments. They are opportunities. They are the forces that, if you allow them, will turn you into something stronger and more resilient than you are today. But to access this transformation, you must be willing to push yourself daily. Not once in a while. Not only when it feels easy. Daily. You must meet pressure, lean into it, and turn it into strength. Most people run from pressure. They avoid challenges, they escape responsibilities, they retreat from anything that feels heavy. But in doing so, they never discover what they're truly capable of. Because strength is never built in comfort, it is built under pressure. A muscle only grows when it is challenged with resistance. Without the weight, it weakens. With the weight, it becomes powerful. And the same is true for your character, your mind, your spirit. I want you to pause here and think about the times in your life when you grew the most. Was it during ease, when everything was smooth and simple? Or was it during pressure, when life demanded more from you than you thought you had to give? Perhaps it was a season of loss, when you had to find resilience. Perhaps it was a challenge at work, when you had to dig deeper than before. Perhaps it was in your relationships, when you had to learn patience, communication, and forgiveness. Those moments, though difficult, were shaping you. Pressure is the sculptor of your strength. Now imagine this. Instead of waiting for pressure to come, instead of dreading it when it arrives, you choose it. You deliberately push yourself into situations that stretch you, challenge you, and demand more from you. You do not wait for life to pressure you, you pressure yourself. And by doing so, you build resilience before you even need it. You create strength not just for today, but for tomorrow, for years to come. Pushing yourself daily does not mean driving yourself into exhaustion. It means refusing to settle into stagnation. It means asking yourself each day, what can I do today that feels difficult? Where can I lean into resistance rather than escape it? It could be as simple as waking up earlier when you want to sleep in. It could be as hard as tackling the project you've been avoiding. It could be as personal as having the honest conversation you've been postponing. Each time you push, you stretch. And each stretch becomes a new baseline of strength. Think about an athlete. They don't become strong by lifting the same weight forever. They increase the weight, slowly, steadily, pushing just beyond their current capacity. And what once felt impossible becomes normal. You are no different. Life is your gym, and pressure is the weight. Each time you push a little further, you grow. But here is where many people make a mistake. They confuse pressure with stress. Stress is unmanaged, chaotic, destructive. But pressure, when chosen and directed, is creative. Pressure refines, focuses, and strengthens. The key is in your perspective. If you see pressure as an enemy, it will crush you. If you see it as a teacher, it will lift you. Pause for a moment and reflect. What pressure are you currently facing that feels overwhelming? Maybe it's financial strain, maybe it's a career challenge, maybe it's a relationship difficulty. Now ask yourself, what if this is not here to break me, but to build me? What if this pressure is my training ground, my chance to discover strength I didn't know I had? That shift in perspective changes everything. Suddenly, pressure is not a weight to avoid, but a tool to embrace. And here's another truth. You don't have to face massive pressures all at once to grow. Daily pressure, chosen deliberately, compounds over time. Imagine committing each day to do one thing that challenges you. Just one. Over weeks, months, years, you would become unrecognizable compared to who you are now. Because growth is not made in occasional leaps, it is made in daily pushes. Let me share a story with you. There was once a man who feared public speaking. The pressure of standing before a crowd paralyzed him. He could have avoided it forever, staying in his comfort zone. But instead, he chose pressure. Each day, He forced himself to speak, first to a mirror, then to a friend, then to a small group. His heart raced, his palms sweated, but he pushed anyway. Day after day, he leaned into the pressure. Years later, that same man was speaking on stages, inspiring thousands. What changed? The pressure that once terrified him became the very force that made him strong. Your story can be the same. The thing you avoid today may become the area of your greatest strength tomorrow, if you are willing to face it daily. Pressure, consistently embraced, transforms weakness into mastery. Now, I want you to think about your own life. Where do you feel resistance? Where do you feel stretched? That is exactly where you need to lean in. That is where your growth is hiding. Do not retreat. Push. Step into it. Choose it daily. Another important truth: pressure reveals character. Anyone can seem strong when life is easy. But under pressure, the real you shows up. Do you quit? Do you complain? Or do you rise? Pressure strips away pretenses and reveals who you are at your core. And that revelation is not to shame you, but to show you where you must grow. Pressure gives you a mirror. And when you use it wisely, it becomes a guide. Now imagine yourself 1 year from now if you committed to pushing yourself daily. Imagine the strength you would build, the resilience you would carry, the confidence you would exude. Imagine facing situations that once terrified you, and instead of retreating, you smile, because you know you are ready. That is what daily pressure creates, a version of you who is unshakable. Take another breath with me. Inhale courage, exhale hesitation. Pressure is not here to harm you, it is here to shape you. Every time you push yourself, every time you embrace resistance, every time you choose growth over ease, you're turning carbon into diamond. So as we close this chapter, I want to leave you with a question to carry into tomorrow. What is one way I can push myself today? Just one. It doesn't have to be dramatic. But let it be real. Let it be uncomfortable. And then, when you've done it, celebrate it. Not because it was easy, but because you were willing to face the pressure. This is how you grow. This is how you build resilience. This is how you turn pressure into strength. And tomorrow, when pressure arrives again, as it always does, you will not run. You will stand, you will breathe, and you will say, "This is my training ground. This is how I become who I am meant to be." Take a final deep breath now. Feel the weight on your shoulders, and instead of shrinking from it, lift your chin and recognize it for what it is, the sculptor of your strength. And now, let us walk together into the next chapter. Take a breath with me again. Slowly in, hold it for just a moment, and now let it out gently. Feel your body relax as we begin this chapter. I want to invite you into a truth that most people spend their entire lives running away from. It is simple, it is obvious, and yet it terrifies us. The truth is this: failure is not something to fear. Failure is something to practice. Failure is something to embrace. Failure is something to seek, because within failure lies the greatest lessons of your life. Think about your earliest memories of failing. Maybe it was falling when you tried to ride a bike. Maybe it was getting an answer wrong in class. Maybe it was trying out for a team and not making it. How did it feel? Embarrassing, painful, disappointing. And because of those feelings, you learned that failure was dangerous. You began to fear it. You began to avoid it. You began to shrink your attempts so that you wouldn't have to feel that sting again. But here's the irony: the very thing you ran from, the failure, is also the very thing you needed most to grow. Look at children. Watch how they learn. They fall 100 times while learning to walk. They spill, they stumble, they mispronounce words, they draw outside the lines. And none of it stops them. In fact, every failure makes them stronger, sharper, more capable. But as we grow older, something shifts. We attach shame to failure. We begin to think failure means we are less worthy, less capable, less intelligent. We stop seeing it as feedback and start seeing it as a verdict. That is when growth slows down. The people who achieve greatness are not those who avoid failure, they are those who fail more often than anyone else. They are willing to fall, to stumble, to try again. They have learned the art of failing forward. Each mistake becomes a stepping stone. Each setback becomes a teacher. Each disappointment becomes fuel. Pause here and reflect. How many opportunities have you missed because you were afraid to fail? How many times have you stayed silent when you had something to say, held back when you had something to give, turned away when you had something to try, just because you feared you might get it wrong? What if you had tried anyway? What might your life look like now if you had allowed yourself to fail more? Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the path to success. Every great inventor, every great leader, every great artist, every great athlete, they are all people with a trail of failures behind them. Thomas Edison famously said he didn't fail 10,000 times while inventing the light bulb. He found 10,000 ways that didn't work. Each failure was not an end, but a step closer to the goal. That's the mindset I want you to carry. Failure is information. Failure is direction. Failure is progress in disguise. So what does it mean to fail and learn daily? It means deliberately placing yourself in situations where mistakes are possible. It means choosing challenges that stretch you beyond certainty. It means leaning into the things that scare you, not away from them. Each time you fail, you gain clarity. You discover what doesn't work, and that is just as valuable as discovering what does. Imagine a scientist in a lab. Do they cry when an experiment doesn't work? No. They take notes. They adjust. They try again. Their failures are data. Why should your life be any different? Every failure you encounter is data for your growth. The problem is not failure. The problem is your interpretation of it. If you call it defeat, you will stop. If you call it feedback, you will grow. Let me share a story. A young entrepreneur launches a business. She puts her savings into it, pours her energy into it, believes in it with her whole heart. And it fails. Customers don't come. The money runs out. On the surface, it looks like disaster. But instead of quitting, she studies the failure. She asks, why didn't it work? She realizes her product wasn't solving the right problem. So she adjusts. She tries again. The next venture also struggles, but she learns more. By the time she launches her third business, she has accumulated lessons most people never gather because they never dare to fail. That third business succeeds. And people say, she's so lucky. But it wasn't luck. It was the courage to fail, learn, and try again. Now think of your own life. Where have you allowed the fear of mistakes to silence you? Where have you allowed the possibility of failure to stop you before you even began? This is where you must shift. You must begin to treat failure as part of your daily practice. Not as something rare, not as something to dread, but as something to welcome. Each day, do something you might fail at. Speak up with an idea, even if it might be wrong. Try a skill, even if you're a beginner. Attempt a project, even if you're uncertain. The point is not perfection, the point is practice. Practice failing. Practice learning. Practice rising. The more you fail, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you succeed. Failure also builds humility. When you fail, you are reminded that you are human, that you are still learning. And humility is strength, because it keeps you teachable. The moment you believe you cannot fail is the moment you stop growing. But the moment you accept failure as a friend is the moment you unlock endless growth. Let's pause again. Close your eyes if you can. Think of one failure in your life that still stings. Maybe it was recent. Maybe it was years ago. Feel it for a moment. Now, ask yourself, what did that failure teach me? What skill, what lesson, what resilience did I gain because of it? If you look closely, you'll see that failure gave you something valuable. And if you carry that perspective, no failure is ever wasted. I want you to also realize this: failure is temporary. It feels permanent when you're in it, but it passes. Pain fades. Embarrassment fades. What remains are the lessons, the skills, the strength. Success is built on temporary failures stacked into a permanent foundation. So here's the challenge: stop fearing mistakes. Start collecting them. Each mistake is a brick. Each failure is a tool. Each setback is a chapter. The more chapters you collect, the richer your story becomes. The people who achieve little in life are not those who fail often, but those who fail rarely, because they never dared to try. I'll leave you with a picture. Imagine a child learning to walk. They fall. Again and again. But they rise. Again and again. Imagine if the child stopped after the first fall. They would never walk, never run, never dance. But they don't stop. They fail daily, and that is why they succeed. You are no different. You may be older, but you are still learning to walk in new areas of your life. So let yourself fall. Let yourself stumble. Let yourself fail. Because on the other side of failure is freedom. Take one last deep breath with me. Inhale courage, exhale fear. Carry this truth into tomorrow. Failure is not your enemy. Failure is your teacher. Failure is your ally. And each day you fail and learn, you are not losing, you are growing. And now, let us walk together into the next chapter. Take a moment right now to notice your breath. Inhale slowly, hold it gently, and then let it go. Feel the stillness for a second. You and I are about to walk into a truth that can shake the very way you live your life. It is this: you are capable of far more than you believe, but the only way to find out is by challenging your limits daily. Let's be honest. Most people never come close to their true capacity. They live inside invisible boundaries, lines drawn not by reality but by habit, fear, and self-doubt. They say, "This is as far as I can go. This is who I am. This is my limit." But these so-called limits are not walls, they are illusions. And illusions only hold power when you obey them. The moment you challenge them, you discover they are weaker than you thought. Think of an athlete running a race. They feel exhaustion rise, their body screams at them to stop, and their mind whispers, "This is your limit." But when they push just a little further, something incredible happens. Their body finds a second wind. Their mind discovers untapped strength. The limit that felt absolute becomes just another checkpoint. This is the secret: limits are not fixed, they are flexible. And the way you stretch them is by challenging them, not once in a while, but every single day. Now think about your own life. Where do you feel the edge of your limits? Is it in your work, where you've convinced yourself you can't lead, can't create, can't innovate? Is it in your body, where you've told yourself you're not strong enough, not fast enough, not healthy enough? Is it in your relationships, where you've accepted that you can't communicate better, can't love more deeply, can't forgive more freely? Wherever your edge lies, that is the place where growth is waiting for you. The problem is not the existence of limits. The problem is that most people bow to them. They meet resistance and call it the end. But resistance is not the end, it is the invitation to go further. Every limit you feel is a doorway, and the key to opening it is daily challenge. Pause here and reflect. Think about a time when you surprised yourself, when you did something you once thought you couldn't. Maybe it was finishing a long run, delivering a speech, solving a problem, overcoming a hardship. Do you remember that feeling? The disbelief, the pride, the realization that you had more inside you than you knew? That moment is proof. Proof that your limits are not absolute. Proof that you can break through. Proof that you are stronger than you believe. The tragedy is that most people experience that proof once or twice, and then they retreat back into comfort. They stop challenging themselves, and so their world stays small. But imagine if you made this a daily practice. Imagine if, every day, you chose one way to push your limits, physically, mentally, emotionally. Imagine the strength, the resilience, the confidence you would build over weeks, months, years. That is the life waiting for you on the other side of challenge. But let's be clear, challenging your limits doesn't always mean massive leaps. It doesn't mean running a marathon tomorrow if you've never jogged before. It doesn't mean starting a company overnight if you've never tried business. It means pushing just beyond where you are today. If you can lift 10 pounds, try 12. If you can speak to one person, try 3. If you can work for an hour, try an hour and 10. It is in the small daily stretches that greatness is forged. Because each stretch, though tiny, expands your capacity. And over time, those small expansions add up to extraordinary breakthroughs. This is how mountains are climbed, not in one giant leap, but in steady, daily steps. Each step feels small, but together they take you higher than you ever imagined. Now, let me share something important. When you push against your limits, it will feel uncomfortable. It will feel like resistance. Your mind will say, "Stop, this is too much." Your body will ache. Your emotions will rise. And in that moment, you will want to retreat. But that moment is the threshold. That is where growth happens. If you retreat, you stay the same. If you push through, you expand. It's like breaking in new shoes. At first, they feel tight, uncomfortable, even painful. But the more you wear them, the more they stretch, until eventually, they fit perfectly. Your limits work the same way. Push them daily, and they expand. Avoid them, and they remain tight and restrictive. Let's pause here again. Ask yourself, where am I settling for less than I'm capable of? Where am I stopping at the first sign of resistance? Where am I believing in limits that may not be real? Sit with those questions. They hold the key to your next breakthrough. Here's another truth. Life will test your limits whether you choose it or not. Challenges will come. Hardship will arrive. Struggles will appear. If you have not built the habit of challenging yourself daily, those moments will break you. But if you have trained yourself to push limits regularly, those same challenges will not destroy you, they will reveal your strength. You will face them with resilience, with courage, with the unshakable knowledge that you have already built the capacity to endure and overcome. So why wait for life to test you? Test yourself. Push yourself. Train yourself in advance. That way, when real storms come, you are not unprepared, you are ready. I want you to imagine yourself a year from now. You've been challenging your limits daily. You've pushed your body to grow stronger, your mind to grow sharper, your heart to grow braver. Imagine how different you would feel. Imagine how wide your horizon would be. Imagine how much confidence you would carry, knowing that you are no longer defined by yesterday's limits. That vision is not a fantasy. It is the logical result of daily challenge. Think of the stories you admire, heroes, leaders, pioneers. What do they all share? They all faced limits, and they all broke through them. Not because they were superhuman, but because they refused to accept boundaries as permanent. They tested themselves. They stretched themselves. They built lives that inspire us because they lived beyond what was comfortable. You have that same capacity. The question is, will you use it? Take another deep breath. Inhale the possibility of growth. Exhale the illusion of limits. Remember this, your limits are not walls. They are doors. And doors are meant to be opened. So as we close this chapter, I want to leave you with a challenge. Tomorrow, when you wake up, choose one way to push your limits. Just one. It doesn't matter how small. It could be doing one more push-up than yesterday. It could be speaking up when you'd normally stay quiet. It could be trying something you've never tried before. Whatever it is, let it stretch you. Let it remind you that you are capable of more. Because the truth is, your limits are not fixed. They bend. They break. They expand. And each day you challenge them, you take another step toward becoming the fullest version of yourself. Take one last breath now. Feel the strength in your lungs, the beat of your heart, the power of your presence. You are not defined by your limits. You are defined by your willingness to challenge them. And when you do, daily, there is no boundary you cannot break. And now, let us continue, stepping boldly into the next chapter of your journey. Take a long, slow breath. Inhale possibility, and as you exhale, let go of the idea that you must live by the same standards you've always accepted. Today, we are stepping into a truth that can transform the way you live, the way you choose, the way you carry yourself in every moment. The truth is this: the quality of your life is determined by the standards you set for yourself. If you want to change your life, you must elevate your standards daily and refuse to settle for less than you are capable of. Think about what standards really mean. A standard is not a wish. A standard is not a hope. A standard is what you demand of yourself and what you are unwilling to compromise on. It is the line in the sand that says, "This is who I am. This is what I allow. This is what I expect. Your standards define your reality, because you will always rise, or fall, to the level of what you tolerate. Look closely at your life right now. Everything in it, your health, your work, your relationships, your habits, is a reflection of the standards you've accepted. If you're in great physical shape, it's because you set a standard for how you treat your body. If you're surrounded by meaningful relationships, it's because you set a standard for how you show up with people and what you allow in return. If you're excelling in your career, it's because you set a standard for the quality of work you deliver. Wherever you see excellence, you'll find high standards. Wherever you see mediocrity, you'll find low ones. Here's the part many people overlook. Your life is not shaped by what you want, it is shaped by what you're willing to settle for. Everyone wants success. Everyone wants health. Everyone wants love. But only those who raise their standards and hold themselves to them, daily, create lives that reflect those desires. Pause here and reflect. What have you been tolerating in your life that you know is below your true potential? Maybe it's the way you've been caring for your health. Maybe it's the way you've been spending your time. Maybe it's the way someone has been treating you. Deep down, you know it's not enough. But because you accepted it, because you settled, it became your reality. The first step toward transformation is to stop tolerating less than you deserve. Raising your standards is not about perfection. It is not about judging yourself harshly. It is about deciding that you will no longer live small. It is about refusing to accept excuses. It is about aligning your daily actions with the vision of who you want to become. Standards are not set once, they are chosen daily. That is why this chapter calls you to elevate them again and again. Think of a thermostat in a room. If the temperature drops below the setting, the system kicks in to restore balance. If the temperature rises above, the system adjusts. Your standards work the same way. They set the baseline of your life. If your standard is high, the moment you slip below it, something in you will demand change. But if your standard is low, you will accept less, and your life will remain less. So the question is, what temperature have you set for your life? Is it warm enough to ignite passion, or is it lukewarm, just enough to survive? If you want greatness, you must turn the dial up. You must raise the heat. You must elevate the standards that govern your choices. Let's make this practical. If your current standard is to exercise when you have time, raise it to I move my body every day, no matter what. If your standard for relationships is I accept anyone who stays, raise it to I only allow people who respect and uplift me. If your standard for work is I do enough to get by, raise it to I deliver excellence, even in the small things. Each time you elevate your standards, you elevate your life. But here is the challenge. Raising standards requires courage. Because the moment you raise them, excuses will rise. Fear will whisper, what if you can't keep this up? What if you fail? What if you lose people by demanding more? And that is why many people lower their standards to match their fear. But courage is the willingness to hold the line, even when it feels uncomfortable. Pause again. Ask yourself, if I raised my standards today, what would I stop tolerating? What would I start demanding of myself? What would I no longer accept from others? Sit with those questions. The answers are your guide. Here's another truth. When you raise your standards, you may lose people, opportunities, and habits that no longer fit. And that can feel like loss. But in reality, it is making space for better. When you stop settling, you create room for excellence. Do not mourn the things that fall away, celebrate them, because they are proof that you are elevating. Imagine yourself 5 years from now if you kept your current standards. Would you be proud of the life you've built, or would you feel regret? Now imagine yourself 5 years from now if you elevated your standards daily, even slightly. How much healthier, stronger, wealthier, happier, and freer would you be? The difference between those two futures is not talent. It is not luck. It is not opportunity. It is standards. Every extraordinary person you admire has one thing in common: unshakable standards. They refuse to settle. They refuse to accept excuses. They refuse to compromise on what matters. That is why their lives stand out. And you have the same power. The question is, Will you demand more of yourself, or will you continue to tolerate less? Take another deep breath. Inhale determination. Exhale hesitation. Remember this: your standards shape your destiny. Elevate them daily, and your life will rise to meet them. So here is your challenge. Tomorrow, when you wake up, choose one area of your life where you will raise your standard. Just one. Commit to it. Hold yourself to it. Refuse to settle. And once it becomes your new baseline, raise it again. Over time, you will become unstoppable, not because you wished for more, but because you demanded more. Close your eyes for a moment and picture yourself living by the highest standards you can imagine. See the strength in your body, the clarity in your mind, the confidence in your actions, the love in your relationships, the excellence in your work. That vision is not beyond you. It is within you, waiting for you to stop settling and start rising. Take one final breath with me. Feel the power of commitment. Feel the courage to elevate. Feel the refusal to settle. This is your turning point. From today forward, let your life be a reflection of the standards you choose, not the ones you inherited, not the ones you tolerated, but the ones you demand of yourself. And now, let us step together into the next chapter, carrying with us the strength of higher standards. Take a moment with me now. Inhale slowly, feel the air expand your chest, hold it gently, and then exhale, letting your body settle into stillness. As you breathe, I want you to notice something subtle. You've just performed a miracle. Not because you breathed in once, but because you have been breathing in and out since the day you were born. Without pause, without fail, without needing to be told. That is the power of consistency. Small actions, repeated faithfully, create life. Consistency is not glamorous. It rarely gets applause. It often feels boring. But make no mistake, consistency is the secret weapon of the great. It is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. It is what takes ordinary people and makes their lives extraordinary. It is what transforms possibility into reality. Most people underestimate the power of consistency. They believe success is about big moments, winning a championship, getting a promotion, landing an opportunity. But big moments are built on small, consistent actions repeated over time. Greatness is not achieved in a day. Greatness is forged daily, in the quiet repetition of choices when no one is watching. Think of water carving through stone. One drop does nothing. 10 drops do nothing. But millions of drops, falling consistently over years, carve valleys and shape landscapes. That is the power of consistency. It turns the impossible into the inevitable. Now reflect on your own life. Where you are right now is the result of your consistent patterns, not your occasional efforts. Your health is the reflection of your consistent habits with food, movement, and rest. Your relationships are the reflection of your consistent communication, attention, and love. Your career is the reflection of your consistent effort, discipline, and growth. Wherever you see strength in your life, it is because you are consistent. Wherever you see struggle, it is because consistency has been absent. Pause here. Let that sink in. Success and failure are not accidents. They are patterns. They are consistency rewarded, or consistency neglected. The tragedy is that most people are consistent, but in the wrong direction. They are consistent with procrastination, consistent with excuses, consistent with mediocrity. They don't realize that doing the wrong things every day is just as powerful as doing the right things. One builds success, the other builds regret. The principle is the same. Consistency always compounds. The only question is, in which direction are you compounding? Imagine planting seeds in a garden. If you water them daily, even a little, they grow. If you neglect them, they wither. But what if every day, instead of watering your flowers, you watered weeds? The weeds would thrive. That's how life works. Whatever you feed consistently grows. Which means if you want greatness, you must starve your weaknesses and feed your strengths, daily. Consistency is the great equalizer. You don't need to be the smartest, the fastest, or the most talented. If you are consistent, you will surpass those who rely only on talent without discipline. History is full of people who weren't the most gifted, but who outlasted everyone else through persistence. Consistency multiplies average effort into extraordinary results. Let's pause again and make this personal. Ask yourself, what am I doing every day, without fail? What small actions are shaping my tomorrow? Do they lead to the life I want, or are they building the life I fear? These questions matter, because your daily actions are writing your future. The beauty of consistency is that it doesn't demand perfection. You don't need to get everything right all at once. You just need to show up, again and again. Even if you stumble, even if you make mistakes, consistency keeps you moving forward. It is not about intensity, but about persistence. Think of brushing your teeth. You don't brush once for 3 hours and then ignore it for a year. You brush a little every day. The action seems small, almost meaningless. But over time, it prevents decay, preserves health, and keeps you strong. Success works the same way. It's not about doing massive things once in a while. It's about doing small things consistently. Now, here's the challenge. Consistency requires discipline, and discipline requires vision. If you don't know why you're showing up every day, you will quit. That is why the greats are not only consistent, they are clear. They know what they want. They know why it matters. And that vision fuels their discipline. So ask yourself, what vision will fuel my consistency? What dream is worth the daily effort, the repetition, the persistence? Hold that vision close, because it will carry you through the days when consistency feels hard. Another truth about consistency: it compounds invisibly. For a long time, it seems like nothing is happening. You go to the gym, but your body looks the same. You write daily, but no one is reading. You save money, but your account feels small. This is where most people quit. But consistency is like compound interest. The effects are small at first, almost invisible. But over time, they accelerate. Suddenly, results appear, and people say, "You're lucky." No, it wasn't luck. It was consistency. Let me give you an image. Imagine chopping down a tree. You swing the axe once, nothing happens. Twice, still nothing. 100 times, the tree still stands. But with each strike, you are weakening the trunk. Finally, after hundreds of swings, the tree falls. Was it the last swing that did it? No. It was all of them, consistently applied, that made the difference. That is how life works. Success doesn't arrive in one strike. It arrives after hundreds of consistent actions, building quietly until breakthrough comes. Pause again. Reflect. Where in your life are you swinging the axe, but haven't yet seen results? Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your skills. Maybe it's your relationships. Don't quit. The tree is weakening, even if you can't see it yet. Stay consistent, and one day, it will fall. Consistency also builds trust. When you show up daily, people learn to rely on you. When you are consistent with your word, your actions, your presence, you create stability. And trust is one of the most valuable currencies in life. It is earned not through one big act, but through consistent small ones. Now, let's be honest, consistency is not easy. It requires saying no to distractions, to excuses, to short-term comfort. It requires choosing long-term vision over immediate pleasure. It requires doing what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it. But this is what makes it powerful. If it were easy, everyone would do it. But because it is rare, it is valuable. Take another deep breath. Inhale discipline. Exhale excuses. Feel the strength that comes from choosing consistency over chaos. So how do you build consistency? Start small. Pick one area. Commit to it daily. Don't overwhelm yourself with 10 goals. Choose one standard you will keep without fail. Once it becomes part of you, add another. Slowly, your consistency grows, and with it, your life transforms. Here's the beauty. Consistency creates freedom. At first, it feels restrictive. You must do the same thing daily. But over time, it frees you. Because consistency builds habits, and habits remove the need for constant decision-making. You don't ask, "Should I work out today?" You just do it. You don't ask, should I write today? You just write. The discipline becomes automatic, and in that automation, you gain freedom to focus on growth. Let's imagine your future. 1 year from now, if you were consistent daily, how different would your life look? What habits would you have built? What strength would you carry? What success would you hold? The answer is clear. Your life would be unrecognizable, elevated, expanded. That is the promise of consistency. Close your eyes if you can. Picture yourself waking up, following through daily, step by step, action by action. Picture the compound growth. Picture the quiet transformation. Picture the greatness built not by bursts, but by persistence. That vision is not far away. It is one consistent day at a time. Take one final breath. Inhale the power of small, repeated action. Exhale the myth of overnight success. Remember, consistency is the secret weapon of the great. Use it daily, and you will become unstoppable. And now, let us walk together into the next chapter, carrying with us the quiet, unstoppable power of consistency. Take a long breath with me. Inhale slowly, feel the air filling your lungs, and exhale gently, letting your shoulders relax. As you settle into this moment, I want to invite you into a truth that may seem simple at first, but it carries within it the power to change the entire direction of your life. That truth is this: what you believe each day becomes the shape of your reality. If you believe in yourself, in your vision, in your strength, your life expands. If you allow doubt to rule you, your life shrinks. Belief is the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. Doubt is the wall that blocks you from even trying. That is why greatness requires not just a spark of belief once in a while, but daily belief, renewed every morning, carried into every decision, every step, every challenge. Think about belief for a moment. What is it, really? Belief is not simply optimism. It is not blind positivity. Belief is the deep conviction that something is possible, even when you cannot see it yet. It is the courage to hold a vision in your mind and heart long before it appears in front of you. Every achievement in history began as belief. The airplane began as belief in the minds of the Wright brothers. The light bulb began as belief in the mind of Edison. Great movements began as belief in the hearts of leaders who refused to surrender to doubt. Belief is not small, it is the engine of progress. But belief is fragile. Every day, doubt tries to erode it. Doubt whispers, "You're not enough. You'll fail. Others are better. Who are you to try?" And if you listen, if you give your attention to those whispers, belief weakens. This is why belief cannot be a one-time decision. It must be renewed daily. Each morning, you must choose to believe again. Each challenge, you must choose to believe again. Each setback, you must choose to believe again. Pause here and reflect. What do you believe about yourself right now? Do you believe you are capable of growth? Do you believe you can change? Do you believe you can achieve what you long for? Or have you allowed doubt to convince you otherwise? The beliefs you carry, often invisible and unspoken, are shaping your life more than you realize. Here's the truth: your mind is always creating evidence to support your beliefs. If you believe you can, you notice opportunities, you take action, you persist. If you believe you can't, you notice obstacles, you hesitate, you quit. Belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That is why you must guard your beliefs carefully, because they are the soil in which your future grows. Believing daily is not about ignoring reality. It's about refusing to let doubt decide your reality. Doubt sees limits. Belief sees possibilities. Doubt says, "Stop here." Belief says, "Go further." Doubt shrinks your horizon. Belief expands it. Now let's be clear. Doubt will always appear. No one is free from it. Even the most successful people feel doubt. The difference is that they don't bow to it. They feel it, acknowledge it, and then choose belief anyway. That is courage, not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. Think of a tightrope walker. As they step out onto the rope, doubt whispers that they might fall. Belief whispers that they can balance. Which voice they choose to follow determines whether they take the next step. Your life works the same way. Each day, you are stepping onto the rope of your dreams. Will you let doubt freeze you, or will you let belief carry you forward? Pause again. Ask yourself, what dream have I abandoned because doubt convinced me it wasn't possible? What goal have I avoided because I believed I wasn't ready, or capable, or worthy? Sit with those questions. They reveal the places where you must choose belief again. Here's another truth. Belief grows stronger through action. The more you act, the more evidence you create for your belief. Each small success builds confidence. Each step forward proves to your mind that your belief is valid. This is why sitting still fuels doubt, but moving forward fuels belief. If you want to strengthen belief, act on it daily. Don't wait until you feel confident. Start, and confidence will follow. Imagine planting a seed. If you water it daily, even when you can't see growth, you trust that something is happening underground. That is belief. If you stop watering because you don't see results, the seed dies. Many people kill their dreams this way. They stop believing too soon. They stop watering. But those who keep believing daily, those who keep watering their vision, eventually see it break through the soil and grow into something extraordinary. Belief also requires protecting your mind. The voices you listen to shape your faith in yourself. If you surround yourself with doubt-filled people, your own belief will wither. If you feed your mind with negativity, your spirit will weaken. But if you surround yourself with voices of encouragement, if you feed your mind with wisdom, if you immerse yourself in possibility, belief flourishes. That is why you must choose your environment carefully. Pause and reflect again. Who are the voices in your life right now? Do they feed your belief or your doubt? What messages are you absorbing daily? Are they strengthening your courage or undermining it? Remember, belief is not just an inner act, it is shaped by what you allow around you. And here is something powerful. When you believe daily, you don't just change yourself, you change others. Your belief becomes contagious. It inspires those around you. Think of leaders, teachers, mentors who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. Their faith gave you strength. You can do the same for others. When you carry daily belief, you become a source of light, a reminder to others that possibility is real. Now imagine your life 1 year from now if you chose belief daily and refused doubt. Imagine the projects you would have started, the challenges you would have faced, the growth you would have experienced. Imagine how much more confident, capable, and fulfilled you would feel. That vision is not far away. It is the natural result of daily belief. Take another deep breath. Inhale faith, exhale doubt. Feel the shift inside you. You do not need to believe perfectly. You only need to choose belief today, and then tomorrow, and then the day after that. Step by step, day by day, your belief will become unshakable. So here is your challenge. Tomorrow morning, when doubt greets you, as it always does, pause and remind yourself, I choose to believe. Say it out loud if you need to. Write it down. Let it anchor you. And then act on it. Do one thing that proves your belief. Each time you do, doubt weakens and belief strengthens. Close your eyes for a moment and picture yourself walking through life with unshakable belief. See yourself facing challenges with courage. See yourself carrying dreams with confidence. See yourself inspiring others by your conviction. That version of you is not a fantasy. It is who you become when you believe daily and refuse to doubt. Take one final deep breath with me. Feel the strength of belief in your chest, the clarity in your mind, the courage in your spirit. This is your power. Carry it forward. Refuse to let doubt decide your future. Let belief be your daily companion, and watch as your life expands beyond limits. And now, let us continue into the next chapter, carrying the unshakable truth that belief, renewed daily, can transform everything. Take a slow, deep breath. Inhale through your nose, feel your chest rise, hold the breath for a moment, and then exhale, letting the air carry away any heaviness. Notice how even that simple act of breathing shifts your energy, how it wakes up your body just a little more. This is the essence of what we are about to explore: energy, motion, and the unstoppable force of momentum. Momentum is one of the most misunderstood forces in life. Most people think greatness happens through sudden bursts of effort, flashes of genius, or moments of luck. But the truth is, the people who achieve extraordinary things don't rely on rare bursts, they build daily momentum. And once momentum is created, it becomes almost impossible to stop. Think of a train at rest. It takes immense energy to get it moving. But once it starts rolling, once the wheels are turning and the weight is in motion, it can crash through barriers, climb steep tracks, and carry massive loads. That is the power of momentum. Starting may feel difficult, but once you build it, momentum carries you forward with less effort than it took to begin. Your life works the same way. Starting is the hardest part. Beginning a habit, a project, a new chapter feels heavy. You face resistance, excuses, fear. But if you push through that beginning, if you stay consistent for just a little while, momentum begins to build. Suddenly, what felt difficult becomes natural. What felt impossible becomes automatic. What once required willpower begins to flow effortlessly. Pause here and reflect. Where in your life have you struggled to begin? Maybe you've wanted to exercise regularly, but starting feels overwhelming. Maybe you've wanted to write, but the blank page intimidates you. Maybe you've wanted to pursue a dream, but you keep postponing. Recognize this truth. The hardest part is not the work itself, but breaking through inertia. And once you break it, momentum will carry you further than you thought possible. The beauty of momentum is that it compounds. A small action today creates a little energy. Another action tomorrow adds more. Day by day, the force grows stronger, until suddenly you are carried by a wave of progress you can hardly believe began with such small steps. Think of a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it is tiny, fragile, easy to stop. But as it rolls, it gathers more snow, grows larger, gains speed. Soon, it is unstoppable. That is how momentum works in your habits, your work, your life. Start small, but start. And then keep rolling. Here's the challenge. Many people quit before momentum has a chance to build. They start for a day, maybe a week, and then stop because results don't appear immediately. They underestimate the hidden power of momentum gathering beneath the surface. But those who persist, who keep rolling even when progress feels invisible, are the ones who eventually break through into unstoppable energy. Pause again. Ask yourself, where in my life have I quit too soon? Where have I stopped rolling before momentum could carry me? Sit with those questions. They hold the key to what you must begin again. Momentum doesn't just create progress, it creates energy. Have you noticed how, when you are in motion, you feel more alive? Action generates energy. Waiting drains it. People think they need energy to start, but in reality, starting is what gives you energy. The moment you take a step, even a small one, your energy rises. And each step after that fuels the next. Think of days when you struggled to begin a task. You procrastinated, told yourself you didn't have the energy. But once you finally started, once you were in motion, you found yourself doing more than you expected. That's momentum at work. Energy is not something you wait for, it is something you create through action. This is why daily momentum is so powerful. If you wait for big bursts of inspiration, you'll move only occasionally. But if you commit to small, daily actions, you create a steady current of energy that carries you forward. That current builds resilience, confidence, and unstoppable force. Let me give you an image. Imagine a river. At its source, it is small, almost insignificant. A trickle of water, easily overlooked. But as it flows, it gathers more streams, more strength, until it becomes a rushing river carving valleys, moving boulders, shaping landscapes. That is the power of daily momentum. Small actions, compounded daily, create unstoppable energy. Pause for reflection again. Ask yourself, what is one small action I can commit to daily that will build momentum in my life? Just one. It might be reading for 10 minutes, exercising for 15, writing one paragraph, saving $1, making one call. Whatever it is, let it be small enough to do daily, but meaningful enough to build momentum. Over time, it will carry you into transformation. Another truth about momentum, it creates confidence. Each small win convinces your mind that progress is possible. Each action taken silences the voice of doubt. Confidence is not built by waiting until you feel ready. Confidence is built by momentum, by stacking small victories until your belief in yourself is unshakable. And here is something even more powerful. Momentum creates identity. The more consistent you are, the more you begin to see yourself differently. You no longer say, "I'm trying to be healthy." You say, "I am someone who moves my body daily." You no longer say, "I'm trying to write." You say, "I am a writer." Identity is born from repeated action, and momentum is the midwife of identity. Let's be honest, momentum is not always easy to maintain. Life will interrupt you. Challenges will appear. You will feel tempted to pause, to break the chain, to stop rolling. But here is the key: even if you stumble, restart quickly. The faster you return to momentum, the less power the setback has. One missed day doesn't matter. 2 missed days can still be recovered. But quit entirely, and the snowball melts. Protect your momentum like a fire, feed it daily, and it will keep burning. Take another deep breath. Inhale motion, exhale stagnation. Feel the truth settle into you. You don't need to be extraordinary to build momentum. You only need to be consistent. Small steps, repeated daily, create unstoppable energy. So here is your challenge. Tomorrow morning, before the day gets noisy, do one small action that builds momentum toward your dream. Just one. Then do it again the next day, and the next. Over time, those actions will become unstoppable energy. And when others ask you how you achieved so much, you'll smile and know the truth. It wasn't luck, it wasn't bursts, it wasn't magic. It was momentum. Close your eyes now, if you can. Picture yourself a year from today. Imagine the habits you've built, the energy you carry, the confidence you radiate. See the snowball of your life rolling, unstoppable, creating opportunities, attracting people, shaping a future beyond what you imagined. That vision is not fantasy. It is the logical result of momentum, faithfully built day by day. Take one final deep breath. Inhale the power of starting small, exhale the fear of standing still. This is your turning point. From this day forward, let momentum be your companion. Build it daily, protect it fiercely, and watch as it creates unstoppable energy in your life. And now, let us continue together into the next chapter, carrying the unstoppable current of momentum. Take a deep breath with me. Inhale slowly, hold it for a moment, and then exhale, letting your body ease into the present. I want you to listen closely now, because what we are about to explore has the power to break one of the greatest traps that holds people back from living the life they truly desire. That trap is waiting. The antidote is action. If there is one principle that separates those who live with regret from those who live with fulfillment, it is this: act daily and refuse to wait. Waiting is subtle. It disguises itself as preparation. It whispers that the timing isn't right, that you need to gather more information, that you should wait for confidence, for money, for permission, for certainty. But beneath all of those excuses lies the same truth: waiting kills dreams. Action, even imperfect action, breathes life into them. Think about the moments in your life when you waited. Perhaps you had an idea, a dream, a goal, and you said, "Someday. Someday when I'm ready. Someday when I have enough. Someday when the stars align." How many of those somedays ever came? How many slipped quietly into never? Waiting is not neutral. Waiting is decay. While you wait, time passes, opportunities fade, and momentum dies. Action, on the other hand, creates motion, possibility, progress. When you act, you send a signal to life itself that you are ready. You may not know everything, you may not feel ready, but action declares that you are willing to learn on the way. Life responds to action. Doors open. People appear. Resources gather. Things that seemed impossible begin to unfold, not because you had certainty, but because you had courage. Pause here and reflect. What are you waiting for right now? What have you postponed because you convinced yourself the timing wasn't right? Is it starting a project? Improving your health? Fixing a relationship? Launching an idea? Be honest with yourself. That waiting is costing you. It is draining your energy, eroding your belief, shrinking your horizon. The only way out is action. Here's the truth most people miss. You don't need massive action to change your life. You just need daily action. One small step each day compounds into transformation. Think of climbing a staircase. You don't leap to the top in one motion. You take one step, then another, then another. Eventually, you reach heights that once seemed impossible. But if you wait at the bottom, analyzing the staircase, doubting your legs, hoping for an elevator, you go nowhere. Action creates clarity. Many people wait because they want certainty first. They want to know the whole path before they take the first step. But clarity does not come from waiting. It comes from moving. When you act, you learn. You discover what works and what doesn't. You adjust, you grow, you gain wisdom. Without action, you are stuck in endless speculation. With action, you move from confusion to clarity. Think of a car at night. The headlights only show a short distance ahead, but as you drive, more of the road is revealed. If you refuse to move until you see the entire journey, you'll never leave the driveway. Life works the same way. Action illuminates the path. Waiting keeps you in darkness. Pause again. Ask yourself, where in my life am I demanding certainty before I move? Where am I paralyzed because I can't see the whole picture? Recognize this. You don't need the entire map. You only need the courage to take the next step. Another truth, action builds confidence. Many people wait because they don't feel ready. They think confidence must come first. But confidence is not a prerequisite. It is a result. Each time you act, you prove to yourself that you can. Each small win builds belief. Confidence is born from action, not the other way around. If you wait for confidence before you act, you'll wait forever. Let me share a story. A young woman wanted to start painting, but she doubted her ability. She told herself she wasn't ready, that she needed lessons, that she needed the right supplies. 4 years, she waited. Finally, one day, she picked up a cheap brush and a blank canvas and began. Her first painting was messy, imperfect, but it ignited something inside her. She kept painting daily, each stroke building skill, each canvas building confidence. Years later, she was selling art, teaching others, living her dream. None of it would have happened if she had kept waiting for perfection. Action was the key. Think about your own life. What dream could awaken if you simply started, today, with what you have? You don't need the perfect tools. You don't need the perfect plan. You need action. Begin, and let growth meet you along the way. Waiting is often fueled by fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection. But here's the irony, the longer you wait, the bigger the fear grows. Fear feeds on hesitation. Action starves it. The moment you step forward, fear loses power. Even if you stumble, you discover that failure is survivable, that mistakes are teachers, that rejection is not the end. The fear that once paralyzed you shrinks into something you can manage. Pause once more. Ask yourself, what am I most afraid of if I act? Is it failure? Embarrassment? Disappointment? Now ask, what is the cost of not acting? Which is truly worse, failing once, or living a lifetime of regret? The answer is clear. Action may hurt for a moment, but waiting hurts forever. Here's another gift of daily action. It builds momentum. Each day you act, no matter how small the step, you create movement. Movement creates energy. Energy creates results. Soon, what began as a small daily effort grows into unstoppable momentum. Waiting creates the opposite: stagnation, heaviness, inertia. The choice is yours. Will you create momentum or decay? Imagine your life 1 year from now. If you acted daily, even in small ways, how different would your life look? What skills would you have built? What relationships would you have strengthened? What goals would you have achieved? Now imagine your life 1 year from now if you continued to wait. What dreams would still be untouched? What regrets would weigh heavier? The contrast is striking. Action creates growth. Waiting creates regret. Take another deep breath. Inhale courage, exhale hesitation. Feel the shift inside you. You do not need to act perfectly. You do not need to act boldly. You only need to act daily. So here is your challenge. Tomorrow morning, choose one action you have been postponing, and do it. Send the message. Make the call. Begin the workout. Write the first page. Whatever it is, act. Refuse to wait another day. Then repeat it the next day, and the next. Over time, those daily actions will transform your life. Close your eyes if you can. Picture yourself living as someone who acts daily and refuses to wait. See yourself moving with energy, making progress, learning, growing, creating. See the confidence in your posture, the clarity in your eyes, the strength in your spirit. That version of you is not imaginary. It is who you become when you stop waiting and start acting. Take one final breath. Inhale determination. Exhale excuses. This is your moment. From today forward, let action be your rhythm. Let daily steps carry you forward. Refuse to wait for permission, for perfection, for the right time. The right time is now. The right person is you. The right step is the next one. And now, let us step boldly into the final chapter of this journey, carrying with us the unstoppable power of daily action. Take a deep breath with me now. Inhale through your nose, hold it gently for just a moment, and exhale, letting everything that has been heavy fall away. You've traveled far on this journey. Step by step, thought by thought, chapter by chapter, you've walked through discipline, belief, possibility, pressure, failure, consistency, momentum, action, and now we arrive here, at the close. But as with all meaningful journeys, the close is not really an end. It is a beginning. A doorway to a new way of living, a higher standard of being, a deeper connection with yourself. If there is one truth I hope has been woven into your heart through this journey, it is this: you are capable of more than you realize. The limits you thought were fixed are not walls, they are doors waiting to be opened. The challenges you feared were not punishments, they were training grounds. The failures you avoided were not verdicts, they were teachers. The doubt you carried was not truth, it was a shadow. And the action you postponed was not waiting for the right time, it was waiting for you. So as we step into this final chapter, let us not focus only on what has been said, but on what you will now do. Because knowledge without action fades. Inspiration without application dies. But when you take what you've heard and live it, daily, consistently, courageously, that is when your life transforms. Think of a seed in your hand. This audiobook, these words, they are seeds. But seeds are only potential until they are planted, watered, nurtured. If you place the seed on a shelf, nothing changes. But if you plant it in the soil of your daily actions, if you water it with belief, if you protect it with discipline, it grows into something beautiful, strong, lasting. The question is, will you plant these seeds? Will you live them? Pause here and reflect. What has spoken to you most deeply in this journey? Was it the reminder to push through pressure? To embrace failure? To challenge your limits? To act without waiting? To believe daily? To build momentum? Whatever it was, hold that truth close. That is your seed. That is the one lesson that is calling you most urgently right now. Plant it. Begin today. Here is something important to remember. Transformation does not happen in leaps. It happens in layers. You don't become unrecognizable overnight. You become unrecognizable over months and years of choosing differently, believing bigger, acting boldly, refusing to settle. It's a process of building, step by step, brick by brick. And though it may feel slow at times, the results are permanent. Quick fixes fade. Deep transformation lasts. So don't rush. Don't demand instant results. Instead, demand daily action. Demand daily courage. Demand daily belief. These are the real markers of transformation. Let's revisit the path we've walked together. We began with the idea that you are the creator of your own possibilities, that your life is not locked, but flexible, ready to expand if you are willing to expand yourself. We saw that pressure is not the enemy, but the sculptor of strength. That failure is not defeat, but the raw material of growth. That limits are not permanent, but challenges meant to be broken. We spoke of the power of standards, that you will always rise to the level of what you demand of yourself and fall to the level of what you tolerate. We saw that consistency is the secret weapon of the great, that belief is the bridge from today to tomorrow, that momentum builds unstoppable energy, and that action, not waiting, is the key to everything. This is the framework for a life without limits. A life that is not small, not stagnant, not silent, but full of courage, full of motion, full of purpose. But there is one more truth to hold as we close. Transformation is not a solo act. Yes, it begins within you. But your growth touches others. Every time you choose to act boldly, you inspire someone else to do the same. Every time you raise your standards, you give others permission to raise theirs. Every time you refuse to quit, someone watching finds the strength to keep going. Your life is not just your own, it is a ripple in the lives of others. And when you live without limits, you help others break theirs. Pause again. Ask yourself, who might be watching me right now, waiting for an example? Who might I inspire simply by refusing to settle, by daring to grow, by acting daily? Let that awareness fuel you. Your courage is never wasted. Another reflection, you don't need to feel ready. You don't need to know the entire path. You don't need to have perfect confidence. You only need to take the next step. That's it. Just one step. And then another, and another. Soon, you'll look back and realize you've walked miles. This is how change happens. One step at a time. One choice at a time. One day at a time. And the beauty is, you always have today. You have this moment. You have this chance. Take another deep breath. Inhale possibility. Exhale hesitation. Feel the strength inside you, the quiet knowing that you are capable of more, that you are ready to begin. Now imagine your life a year from now if you live these truths daily. Picture yourself healthier, stronger, braver. Picture yourself stepping into challenges with courage instead of fear. Picture yourself creating possibilities where once you saw none. Picture yourself looking back with pride instead of regret. That life is waiting for you. Not far away, not unreachable, just one consistent step at a time. And here is something to carry with you. There will be days when you forget. Days when you slip. Days when doubt feels heavy again. That's okay. Transformation is not about perfection. It's about returning. Each time you fall, you rise again. Each time you doubt, you believe again. Each time you hesitate, you act again. This is how resilience is built. This is how lives are changed. So do not demand perfection. Demand persistence. Refuse to quit. Refuse to wait. Refuse to settle. That is enough. That is everything. Close your eyes now, if you can, and take one last deep, grounding breath. Feel your body calm, your spirit rise, your mind open. This is your moment. The old story is done. The new story begins. A story not of waiting, but of acting. Not of fear, but of faith. Not of limits, but of possibilities. You are ready. Step into it. Live it daily. Create it boldly. And when you do, you will discover a truth that cannot be taken from you. You were never limited. You were only waiting to see what you were truly capable of. And now, we close this journey together. You've just listened to another inspiring journey here on Audiobook's Horizon. We hope this audiobook gave you fresh insight, comfort, and motivation to see life with new eyes. If you enjoyed this experience, stay with us. More classics, wisdom, and stories await you. Thank you for being part of our listening family. And remember, every book opens a new horizon. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing. Subscribe.